Hello, everyone. This is Joe Dyer, and I'm here to talk about the first of the Universes Beyond Fallout decks called Scrappy Survivors. In this video, I'm going to be going over all the major named characters and named locations that are present in this deck and provide additional context to their lore. Each of these decks has a wide range of characters across all of the games. With that said, let's get to it. Released in 2015, Fallout 4 is the most current mainline game in the Fallout series. The primary storyline of the game follows the sole survivor, a vault dweller from Vault 111, who is frozen as part of the Vault's experiment immediately after the end of the Great War, before waking up to search for their missing child, Sean. The setting of this game is the Commonwealth, an area around Boston in 2287, taking place 10 years after Fallout 3. The primary face commander of this deck is Dogmeat. While there are Dogmeats across multiple Fallout games, including the original Fallout and Fallout 3, the Dogmeat seen here is based on the Fallout 4 incarnation of the character. The sole survivor first meets Dogmeat outside of the Red Rocket truck stop near Sanctuary Hills, and is one of the first companions the game gives you. Dogmeat is referred to as such by Mama Murphy, who tells the sole survivor that Dogmeat is his own man. It's revealed that Dogmeat often assists Wastelanders, having assisted Nick Valentine as well as Preston Garvey in the past. Dogmeat is modeled after a real-life German Shepherd named River, who belonged to Joel and Michelle Burgess. Joel would often bring River into the office, attending meetings and simply hanging out with the team. As such, the team chose River as the basis of Dogmeat in the game, even going as far as to model Dogmeat's eyes after River's own. Even Dogmeat's behavior of fetching and seeking was inspired by River's own tendency to do the same. Sadly, River passed away in 2021, but her legacy continues to live on in this incredible character, the only companion who will never judge nor complain about the sole survivor's actions, a true dog out of time, just like their best friend. The other face commander of this deck is Preston Garvey, one of the last surviving members of the Commonwealth Minutemen. The Minutemen began as a volunteer civilian defense militia, protecting those in need at a minute's notice. They first rose to prominence in 2180, and a young Preston Garvey enlisted under Colonel Ezra Hollis at the age of 17. However, infighting and rivalries between various contingents of Minutemen led to the group nearly disbanding. In 2287, the Minutemen received a request for assistance from the citizens of Quincy, who were under attack by the Gunners. Garvey's contingent responded, but the Minutemen simply didn't have the numbers to hold off the attacks. Repeated requests to other Minutemen contingents went unanswered. One of their own defected to the Gunners, and despite their best efforts, the Minutemen failed to hold Quincy. Very few fled the scene, and Colonel Hollis was captured and executed. Preston Garvey was one of those who escaped. Garvey led a group of survivors, their numbers slowly dwindling with each new location before finally making it to the Museum of Freedom in Concord, where they were beset upon by raiders. Garvey is the first human companion that the game presents to the sole survivor. He and his refugees not only serve as an introduction to the Minutemen, but also to the game's settlement building system. Garvey, by the time the sole survivor meets him, is under the belief that he has failed everyone and that the Minutemen is a lie. Should the sole survivor choose to help the refugees, however, Garvey will ask the sole survivor to assist in bringing back the Minutemen, declaring that the player character is now the new general of the Minutemen. He definitely has another settlement for you to help. The robotic Mr. Handy named Codsworth was the butler for the sole survivor's family before the Great War. Because he was not granted entry to Vault 111, when the bombs were dropping, he was left behind by the sole survivor. Having survived the war, Codsworth roamed Sanctuary Hills for around 210 years, becoming deeply depressed about the state of things. To cope with this isolation, Codsworth simply chose to believe that nothing had happened. After the sole survivor wakes up and finds their way to Sanctuary Hills, they will find Codsworth there, lurking around their front of their former home. In-game, Codsworth also has the ability to actually speak the sole survivor's name if it is on one of the names on a list created by Bethesda. It's pretty dang cool. Kate was born around 2260 to 2261 into an abusive family of Irish descent. At 18 years old, her parents slapped shock collars on her and sold her into slavery. Being a slave warped Kate emotionally, and for the next 5 years, Kate scraped and stole what she could to buy her freedom. After escaping, she tracked down her parents and gunned them down. Kate fell into chems and alcohol, turning to fighting in the cage of the combat zone to fuel her addiction. Kate was also one of the best brawlers in the combat zone, living and fighting there for 3 years before the Sole Survivor appears. The Sole Survivor is offered Kate's contracts due to her reliance on Psycho. The companion quest accompanying Kate in the game involves Kate confessing her history and addictions to the Sole Survivor. The Sole Survivor can assist Kate in seeking advanced treatment in Vault 95 in order to cure her of her addictions. Fallout 3 was released in 2008 and was the very first Fallout game to take place in a fully realized 3D space and first-person POV. The story follows a vault dweller from Vault 101, known as the Lone Wanderer, who ventures out into the wasteland to find their father, James. Vault 101 is the primary starting location in Fallout 3. While most of vaults had social experiments, Vault 101's was actually no different, despite the fact that many people think it was indeed a control vault, i.e. a vault where it was intended to actually save lives. However, the experiment for Vault 101 was to actually see what would happen if the vault never opened. Despite this mandate, Vault 101 was actually opened multiple times, as one of the overseers made contact with the local settlement of Megaton. The scientist James and his child, aka the Lone Wanderer, came to the vault around 2258 to 2259 seeking shelter, proposing to become the vault's new physician. James left the vault on August 17, 2277, during a Radrest infestation, so that he could continue his work on Project Purity. James's assistant Jonas is killed in the process by the vault staff, and the Lone Wanderer themselves escapes the vault in order to search for James, kicking off the entire story of Fallout 3. The town of Megaton is the very first settlement that the Lone Wanderer comes to in-game. It is named as such due to the fact that it's centered around an undetonated Megaton-class atomic bomb. The town had previous contact with the local vault, Vault 101, around the year 2241. In 2277, a man named Lucas Sims acts as sheriff in the town. The Lone Wanderer can interact with a number of different people in the town, from the more aforementioned Sims to Moira Brown, the eccentric owner of a local supply shop. One of the early quests of the game involves a mysterious person named Mr. Burke approaching the Lone Wanderer with a proposition to activate the atomic bomb in the center of town, doing so on the orders of Alistair Tenpenny. The Lone Wanderer can choose to either set the bomb for remote detonation or out Burke to Sims. Usually this quest involves the death of Lucas Sims due to how quickly Burke kills him. It is something of an achievement to kill Burke before Sims can be killed. Moira is the eccentric owner of Craterside Supply in the town of Megaton around 2263. Moira is an inventor and writer, having noted that there were simply no guides that talked about surviving in the wasteland. She set out to write a book on this very topic. The Lone Wanderer can assist Moira in developing the book, known as the Wasteland Survival Guide. By the time of Fallout 4, the Wasteland Survival Guide had become a full-on series with multiple guides devoted to it. Fun fact, should the Lone Wanderer decide to blow up Megaton in the game, Moira doesn't actually ever die. Depending on how the player has interacted with her, she may be a ghoul near the town, or may be found in an alternate location, having been out of town when the detonation occurred. Also, fun fact, Moira's quests are highly dangerous. The valiant DJ of Galaxy News Radio came from humble beginnings, born to parents who were members of a traveling theater group. Three Dog grew up sticking it to the man and believing in the rights of free speech and communal law. He believed often what he called fighting the good fight, actively opposing oppression in the wasteland. Three Dog established Galaxy News Radio in 2272 and began broadcasting not only music, but important public service announcements to the capital wasteland. Three Dog will often report on the Lone Wanderer throughout the game of Fallout 3, and depending on how the player is doing reputation-wise, will either praise or demonize the Lone Wanderer. As Three Dog would say, he's bringing to the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. Fallout New Vegas was released in 2010 and developed by Obsidian Entertainment. The primary focus of this game is the Mojave Wasteland, in which a courier is shot in the head while on a delivery. With not much memory to go on, the courier struggles to find the man who shot him and yearns to know why. Rose of Sharon Cassidy, otherwise known as Cass, was the daughter of John Cassidy, a man who journeyed with the Chosen One in Fallout 2. At a young age, John left to travel east and never returned, leaving Cass with her mother. Despite being abandoned, Cass never expressed any hatred towards the man, as she never really knew him. After her mother passed away, Cass left, keeping her pendant of a rose that her father had given to her mother. Cass also inherited a penchant for violence as well as a congenital heart condition. Cass eventually made her living running a caravan business bearing the Cassidy name, and things were successful for a time. However, by 2281, things were so bad that Cass was left despondent and worn down, but kept going out of a stubborn sense of pride. Eventually, Cass came to the Mojave outpost as a layover, finding out from the NCR Rangers there that her caravan had been attacked. Stuck there on the order of Ranger Jackson, Cass broke down into a bottle until the arrival of a courier. Veronica Santangelo was born into the Brotherhood of Steel. Her father was a paladin and her mother was a scribe. After her parents were killed in action, she was brought up by the Brotherhood, specifically Father Elijah. He would go on to become like a grandfather to Veronica. Demonstrating an aptitude for engineering from a young age, she began a career path of a scribe within the Brotherhood. As a young woman, Veronica met and fell in love with Christine Royce, another scribe. Their relationship was frowned upon, and Father Elijah used his power unknowingly to Veronica to break the two apart, where Christine was eventually recruited into the Circle of Steel, a sub-faction within the Brotherhood. Eventually, Veronica left with Elijah to investigate Hoover Dam on the orders of the Council. At first, Veronica was elated, but Elijah's action at Helios 1 led to that relationship deteriorating entirely as the NCR waged war against the Brotherhood, surviving while over half the chapter lost its members. Joining with Nolan McNamara and finding safety in the hills of the Mojave, Veronica began to question the policies of the Brotherhood more outspokenly, causing much friction within the chapter. Veronica was primarily put on supply acquisition for the Brotherhood, putting her directly out in the wasteland, where she would meet a certain courier who could help her change the Brotherhood for good, or for bad. Vault 21 is a very interesting vault, in that its primary experiment actually seemed to be successful, unlike other vaults that failed rather spectacularly. Everyone in the vault was considered equal, and the entire vault was created symmetrically. All of the vault's problems and conflicts were solved via gambling. As Sarah Weintraub notes, everyone had a chance, and Lady Luck smiles if you play your odds right. As of 2274, Robert House contacted Vault 21, offering the dwellers inclusion into the resurrection of Vegas. In true Vault fashion, the various factions of the Vault gambled for whether or not they would accept House's offer, with the group favoring the expansion winning the game. Afterwards, House had the vault filled in with concrete up to the upper levels, which was established by Sarah and Sheldon Weintraub as a hotel to become a source of income for Vegas's growing economy. The first NPC you actually meet in Fallout New Vegas, Doc Mitchell, was born in Vault 21. Fallout 76 was released in 2018 and was the first online multiplayer version of Fallout that existed. The game itself is set in the Appalachian Wasteland, specifically West Virginia, and it follows a vault dweller from Vault 76 that is opened back up to the wasteland in order to recolonize and rebuild America. Duchess is a former survivor of the Great War, having been a drug kingpin operating out of Welch prior to the end of the war. Her extreme wealth and supplies helped her get through the apocalypse, and for a time she left Appalachia. When she came back, she opened and began operating the Wayward, an inn near Vault 76. Commander Sophia Daguerre is a former USSA astronaut who was originally from Chicago. She unknowingly participated in an experiment called Deep Sleep, which was experimenting on suspended animation. She was forced into hibernation in 2070 while in orbit, but didn't awaken from her deep sleep until 2103, where her pod crashed in Appalachia. She was discovered by one of the vault dwellers from Vault 76, where she would go to stay at their camp while discovering what happened to her in space. Fun fact, Sophia is an avid video game player and collector of the Unstoppables comics. Her favorite character is the Mistress of Mystery. Ian is a caravan guard originally working for the Crimson Caravan and is one of the most iconic companions from Fallout 1. He eventually settled in Shady Sands after being attacked by raiders. He journeyed with the Vault Dweller until he met a violent end at the necropolis to a super mutant's flamer. Ian is a very amusing companion, as his AI makes it so that he does not often check for friendlies when using burst weapons such as the 10mm SMG. This often leads to incidents of player and companion deaths. If Ian is given semi-automatic weapons exclusively, he does not have this issue. It's only with the burst weapons, and unfortunately, the 10mm SMG is often the first weapon that players give Ian in the game. I hope you enjoyed this look into the legends and locations of the Scrappy Survivors deck for Universes Beyond Fallout. Be on the lookout for these decks when they hit your local game store, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Thank you.